Good evening, or good morning if you've been unconscious till now. I'm Brian Forbes, and this is Invention. Today we take a look at stress in modern life, something I certainly have a personal connection to, as with us tonight is Sir Reginald Bohayno, who's been marketing his latest anti-stress device. Sir Reginald.
I just need a moment.
Well, for a man who ostensibly has created a revolutionary anti-stress device, you sound a bit uptight.
No, I'm not. I just need more time.
Yes, well, stress certainly is a leading factor in poor health, and Sir Reginald seems quite stressed. Now, this will raise his blood pressure, suppress Sir Reginald's immune system, increase his risk of heart attack and stroke, contribute to infertility, and hopefully speed up his aging process. Sir Reginald.
Yes, I said he was coming.
No, you're here.
Ah!
Are you quite all right, Sir Reginald?
I startled myself. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, well.
So, Sir Reginald, we were talking about the effects of stress on modern life.
Oh, terrific.
Now, I understand you've been selling something online that helps people cope with stress. What have you brought for us tonight?
Yes, I have. Well, this is the device. It's an industrial-grade motor system for a massage device that incorporates an ultraviolet heating system.
I'm sorry, did you mean to say ultraviolet?
What?
Well, you said ultraviolet heating system.
Yes, it's proprietary.
Go on.
Yes, and it provides deep tissue and muscle relief to many areas of the body. And so it's portable, of course. It has many different attachments, many different configurations, and it's unlike any stress release device on the market.
Why?
I've had that question before.
Yes, I'm sure people have been saying why to you your entire life.
Well, this provides a sort of incredible massage, very unique, calming, relaxation, and release, because I've added an attachment. This vaguely ethnic woman.
So, this woman is the attachment to your massaging device?
Well, it might not be this one. I mean, that's the demo. But you know, the massager comes in various colors, shapes, and sizes, and the attachment comes in various colors, shapes, and sizes. So if you want a big one, you know, either way, I can hook you up.
I see. And do you supply this attachment?
Oh yes, the attachment. Yes, it's free for a fee when you buy my invention, and then you're provided with a numbered indenture card, which pays for her steerage and also tracks her freedom dues.
This sounds a bit shady.
It's not shady, Brian. It's not shady at all. I mean, look at it. You know, it's all above board. Well, I will admit this, all right? I'll go on record right here, up front. Her food isn't covered for the 3-week journey in relative comfort in a 4x5 box from several third world countries. But there's nothing shady there. See, I've said it.
Most would say casting a light on your own atrocities is hardly admirable.
Yes, well, I'll tell you what is admirable. We get most of these from orphanages early on. So they're relatively disease-free, and you know, no one will miss them.
All right, I'm going to do something unprecedented in the history of invention. I'm going to say early on that this is an appalling idea, and we will not go any further with this invention. I mean, what woman would even agree to this?
It's not agreement, Brian.
No? No,
it's coercion. Yeah, you know, on delivery, you know, they tend to be a bit dizzy, you know, all coming out, they haven't been fed. And they don't want to make an attachment right away. So you have to communicate with them through a series of very simple hand signals, you know, that let them know, oh, and this somewhat convincing marriage certificate, that you, of course, intend to marry them.
So you basically have a mail-order bride that you have no intention of marrying?
Well, I can't, personally, unless I go to Utah. You know, a beautiful place, full of morons.
You mean Mormons?
Possibly. But of course, you know, it's incredibly motivating to live in a free country. The possibility of living there is motivating, and let's face it, they're rather hungry by the time you get them. They are. They're very hungry. So it's very motivating to get out of the box, have a roof over your head, and possibly even you.
I can understand what makes them get out of a 4x5 box and
Good.
why that's motivating, but what makes them get into this 4x5 box for you to abuse them so horribly?
Well, chocolate, you know, and spring-loaded box covers.
It's a trap?
Trap is such a loaded term, Brian. It really is. I don't like to say trap. I like to say opportunity box. You know, it's an opportunity box. You know what they say. The old axiom, if you will. One door closes quickly. The other one opens eventually.
How do people in these countries even allow you to do this?
Well, mostly they don't. But when they do, I have people that I work with. I might trade cattle, yaks, or even camels if we're dealing with Canada.
This isn't an invention. This is a horrible human trafficking scheme.
It is not a scheme, sir. I take umbrage with you over the term scheme. No, I have trafficking affiliates, that I like to call them that. Despots, they seem to want to call themselves, but I have trafficking affiliates that I work with, and if the chockies don't work, I grease the palms. Let's face it, once you've fed them, they're very, very motivated to get attached.
Yes, and what does Mrs. Boheno think of this attachment?
She doesn't know about it, though she's beginning to wonder who keeps doing the laundry and the washing up. I told her we have a ghost.
How ingenious. I have an attachment.
Oh, do you? You already have one?
No, mine doesn't work.
Why not?
It's my wife.
Ooh. Well, this one's amazing. I mean, this one will do shiatsu, it'll do kneading, very kneading, pounding, tapping, pounding, simultaneous tapping and pounding. The long stroke, it does that. Simultaneous tapping, pounding, kneading, pounding, tapping, tapping and pounding, and also flapping, flapping, pounding, flapping, tapping, pounding. It has self-lubricating parts, and it has removable arms, though I wouldn't do it right away, because it does make it somewhat less useful.
Now, isn't it difficult to bring slave labor into the country?
No, it's easy. No, you just sneak them into the port, you know, as cargo, get them out of the relative comfort of the 4x5 box, begin shouting at them really roughly, you know, and just scream at them all sorts of things, and there are no hurt feelings, because after all, I mean, they can't understand a word you're saying, you know, and you do it in front of the guards, so they see you screaming and they naturally assume that you're married. So you get your booty duty-free.
Well, I'm glad our borders are so secured. But aside from the immoral and ethical concerns, isn't this slightly illegal?
No, Brian. It's very illegal. Now, I'm no lawyer. I don't pretend to be anymore. Stop that.
Good.
Yes, right away. But this one will give you an amazing massage. Here, try it out. Robbie!
Oh, no, thank you.
Jojo!
I will not participate.
Jojo!
Oh, thank you. No, that's all right.
Now you're feeling relaxed.
Oh,
Feel it?
Wow, that is
Moving your
actually...
cheek. See? Look at that.
That's
complete
really,
relaxation if the missus can't be bothered.
Yeah. What about the missus?
Well, mine can't be bothered every hour, you know, and besides, it hurts her feet to hold them together like that and pump.
Oh, God, this is wrong on so many levels. Lower, please. Oh, that you would trade in human beings. It's just disgusting. Oh, yes, that's actually quite nice. Oh, you dirty. Oh, did I say that? I cannot believe you would do something so immoral. This is horrible.
Yes, well, they laughed at the Wright brothers.
Yes.
They laughed at Edison.
Oh.
They laughed at Jamie Kennedy, you know. But this massage unit will give you one that's the best you've ever had. And let's face it, this attachment fits perfectly well with your whole unit.
Oh, yes. It has...
You feeling that? It's much better.
I'm feeling it. It's been a while, you know.
Oh, has it?
Yes.
What do you mean?
Well, the missus, you know, it's...
What?
Well, go on, you know.
Oh, anyway, so this attachment will draw you a nice hot bath anytime you need it for full relaxation.
What? A bath?
Yes. You know, my wife, she likes to draw me a bath and use her feet to turn it on. I like to look at them, you know.
Bath? Well, I thought you... Well, I thought this was...
What?
Actually leading...
To what? Sex?
Yeah, no.
Good Lord, Brian! I'm trying to sell a massage unit here, not a prostitution ring.
Yes, no.
What is wrong with you?
Well, of course, I'm sorry. I misunderstood. All right. I'm afraid that's all we have time for on Invention. I'm Brian Forbes. Good night.
Of course, she'll ride you like a bronco. I can hardly feel my balls.
Good night.
Can I tell you what I'm going to talk about next week?
Oh, God, that assumes so much.
I can let you keep this one.
Go on, then.
Ah, yes. Next week, I have perfected the electrified men's urinal and all that entails.
What? Good night. Thank you, good night. And what's the delivery time on one of these?
You can have that one.
Really?
No problem.
Super.
You give me cracker or I cut your throat. Okay.
Well, today on Invention, we have in studio a very rare event.
Girls?
No. We have joining us Sir Reginald Boheno and an actual working invention.
Yes, Brian. Well, I'm pleased to say that after 11 years of field research, trial and error, really looking at what is missing in the marketplace, I'm happy to announce that I've finally designed, developed, and invented the definitive dead bee levitation device.
Now, you promised in your message that you wouldn't waste our time.
And I shan't disappoint you, sir. Look! Wait until you see how years of physics and electromagnetic research grants pay off in the most unexpected way. Trust me on this, really. Right now, with the simple press of a button, we'll see the first real dead bee levitation.
So, what's to say that this isn't a live bee flying around instead of a dead one?
What do you mean?
I mean, what is the value in inventing a dead bee hovering about the place?
Well, that one won't sting you.
Or pollinate anything either.
Yes, well, I've tried the live bee levitation device, and, why would I do another one of those? Didn't do so well. I really think it was built around a faulty marketing business plan, so,
Ow! It stung me!
Ah, that's the problem. Now it's a dead one. Look, let's make it levitate with the other ones.
Hello, and welcome to Invention. With us today is our regular guest, Sir Reginald Boheno.
And I didn't catch your name, Brian.
All right. I understand, Sir Reginald, that you've written a new series of books.
Yes, I've written a 15-volume work on the history of invention.
Well, that is a very large compendium of research. And with this overview of the history of invention, what have you learned?
Well, Brian, I think the most interesting fact to come out of this 30-year venture was the idea that most major inventions were invented, or in some cases discovered, by people who coincidentally, Brian, shared the same name as the invention or discovery.
For instance?
Pasteurization, of course, was discovered by, of all people, Louis Pasteur, who wasn't even looking for it at the time.
He wasn't looking?
No. Louis Pasteur was dedicated to finding the Louis molecule. Couldn't find it anywhere. Had a glass of milk, calmed the nerves. There it was.
Pasteurization.
That's not the only case, either. The Van de Graaff generator was conceived, designed, built, and operated by a man who happened to be named Dr. Van de Graaff, who was never told the name of his invention, no matter how many people he asked. He was never told what the name of the Van de Graaff generator was.
Yes, the often frustrating life of the inventor.
Played out like a Greek.
Tragedy?
It was if you weren't Greek.
So, you're suggesting that all the great inventions of our time share a mysterious link with the names of their inventors?
Well, it's mysterious until you know about it, and then it's less mysterious. It's the great and not so great inventor. For example, the Ford motor car, if you're aware of those. The traveling motor car was actually designed and built by a man who came to be known as Henry Ford. Or the Hubble telescope was used by whatever Hubble's name was. And of course, Morse code was discovered on the back of a matchbook during World War II, I think it was, maybe World War I, by a man coincidentally named Samuel Morse. Happened to be going by. And speaking of going by, Thomas Crapper and his whimsical water closet. I'll say no more.
Yes, indeed, that coincidence is amazing.
Is it? Yes. Well, I devoted an entire chapter of my book to finally revealing the Tesla coil. Very famous, important invention, was discovered in a disused warehouse by, of all people, Nikolai Tesla. It all fits, Brian.
But the light bulb was not invented by a man named Mr. Light Bulb.
Yes, I anticipated that question. Well done. No, of course, this whole name coincidence spans all of the fields of science and invention. Penicillin, as it's known, was first discovered by a Dr. Penicillin.
Did he really?
Yes, he did, you know.
Yeah.
His name, actually, in the Latin was Dr. Peni, you'll see, but he changed it shortly after discovering penicillin, which was very fortunate for two reasons.
One being that what he discovered was called penicillin.
That's right, and the other, of course, being no one wants an injection of peni for a cold.
I have to say, Sir Reginald, it doesn't seem like there's very careful research which goes into your books.
That's why I've written another book. I'll tell you now. It's the largest work I've ever done. It's called Errata.
Errata? What's that?
That's all the mistakes I made in the first 15 volumes of my work. I have been able to get through the first 15 of my books myself, but I can't imagine getting anything out of them without first reading Errata. It's a good upsell.
So, buy your first 15 books, but if you want to get anything out of them, you must go out and purchase Errata.
Precisely.
How very enterprising.
Thank you.
I wonder if something won't be named after you someday.
There is.
And I thought the idiot box was the television. Good night.
Good night.
Good evening and welcome to Invention. I'm your host, Brian Forbes. I've been on holiday, traveling the world, and I thought it would be appropriate to inaugurate my return with Sir Reginald Beauhaineux, who himself has been doing a globe-spanning book tour. Sir Reginald, tell us about your new book.
I've written a new book on cartography.
Cartography? Really?
Yes, I was surprised too. Cartography has nothing to do with the photographing of cards.
No, it has to do with map making.
It does. Crap.
Well, we seem to have lost Sir Reginald Beauhaineux in his voluminous work on cartography. Any inventors in the room? Anyone have an idea for an invention? We can talk about it. Right. Well, I had an idea to improve the toilet with a new ball cock that I thought...
Did you say ball cock, Brian?
Yes, I did.
I've got one.
Well, excellent. We can speak about that on...
I don't want to speak about it. I want to show you.
Welcome to Invention. I'm Brian Forbes. With us again is Sir Reginald Beauhaineux, who returns to us from his second globe-spanning book tour. Sir Reginald, tell us about your new book.
Yes, it's a comprehensive book on cartography, or map-making as it's called.
And I understand that this is the third international printing of your book.
Yes, yes, yes. Through your own efforts and the efforts of my handlers, I came to realize that cartography had to do with map-making, which precipitated a rather hasty rewrite of my book, The Cartographers, after the first two editions had already come out.
Well, I can't imagine. And now you're on another globe-spanning book tour.
Yes, well, actually, I'm spending a great deal of this tour spanning the globe, trying to buy back the old books from the shelves.
And did you manage to get those books back?
No. No, I actually ran out of money in, what is that? Is that India or Africa? I always get those mixed up, probably why I wrote the book. But there's definitely some first editions out there about carts.
And what is the second edition about?
I really shouldn't say.
So you're traveling the globe, buying back your own books. Shouldn't the publishers have had those books recalled?
Publisher.
Well, what can one hope to find in this newly revised version of the Cartographer?
Well, what one can hope to find and what one will actually find are two very different things, let me tell you. Now, in the Cartographers, as they're called, Brian.
Are they called Brian?
The good ones are, yes, called Brian, yes. We found the most startling evidence was that most countries were named, Brian, named after the people already living there.
Are you suggesting that this is purely by chance?
No, no, a pattern. See, Russia, full of Russians, Canada, Canadians, and of course there's Turkey. Gobble, gobble.
I understand you've included an updated map with your new book.
Yes, yes, for clarity I've sort of consolidated all the continents into one, so if someone were to say to you at one of your little posh get-togethers that I don't get the invite for, if someone said, Brian, where's France? You could just go, oh, it's there, there, and you'd probably be right.
Well, I suppose that makes it easy to answer the question, where were you born?
In a vagina, obviously. Anyone would say that.
Few people do.
But look, I want to just get to the bottom of this. I want to blow the whole thing open. Get in there.
I'm sorry, are we still talking about them?
What?
Vaginas.
Good Lord, Brian. What's wrong with you?
Well, you're the one who started. I'm sorry, the book is called The Cartographers, and I'm afraid that's all we have time for on Inventions.
Can I mention I'll be in the lobby?
Signing your new book?
No.
Sir Reginald will be in the lobby. Please, join us again next week when we welcome, once again, Sir Reginald and his latest invention, the giant electric whisker biscuit.
Yummy.
Oh, God, good night. I'm Brian Forbes, and welcome to another edition of Invention. We are joined today by Sir Reginald and what can only be described as his better half, his wife, Lady Beatrice Poon Boheno. Yes, Lady Boheno, you're an American, and it's interesting.
That's all I'm getting, darling. His stream must be down.
Oh, no, he's not on the video stream like the times I showed you at home. No, Brian is right here, my love, right here in the room with us.
Here?
Yes, my sweet.
Yes,
Really?
hello.
Oh!
Yes.
Hello.
There he is.
Yes, yes. Well, Lady Boheno, it's interesting to finally...
Ha! Gone again. Oh, buffering, buffering, buffering.
I see why you two are together. So, Sir Reginald, what have you two been up to?
Is it that obvious?
What? No. Darling, we used the wipes in the car.
We did.
No, forgive you. No, what projects have you been up to?
Well, I've been wanting to do some things with her for a long time,
I thought you just did.
and it was amazing. But my wife, Lady Beatrice Poon Boheno, is only lending some of her inestimable talents to this particular project. She's a lifelong naturalist, of course. She's got degrees in ecology, biology, and quantum physics.
Well, it sounds as though she might finally lend some credibility to one of your undertakings.
Yes.
So, Lady Boheno...
Yes?
Lady Boheno, what have you been developing?
There you are. Finally! There you are. We have signal. We have signal! We have... Brian,
Yes?
we have invented a number of high-concept theme restaurants called the food chain.
The food chain. Well, that sounds clever.
Yes. And in these restaurants, customers actually compete with the other creatures in the ecosystem for their meals.
Good Lord, woman.
Lady?
Good Lord, lady woman. How can this food chain work in practice?
Well, there's no time to practice, truth be told. I often just leap in there with my sausage, yes, and try and eat it before a very hungry coyote does. You know, and then with a sense of near accomplishment and the healing hands of my sweet Lady Poon. Well, I know we have a winner for a theme restaurant.
A winner? Well, that must be different for you. So, how could this restaurant possibly be successful?
It will be successful, Brian, because the more you eat, the hungrier the birds, animals, and reptiles become over time, eventually making you feel very much a part of the food chain. Now, the ecosystem usually achieves balance again during Friday's 5 o'clock happy hour.
Oh, you have a happy hour.
Well, for the animals, yes.
Yes. A very happy hour of feasting on some of the dense population of our Friday night customers, as they, of course, avail themselves of cocktails, aperitifs, the stinky cheese insect repellent cart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, what animals might I compete with if I were to, say, order a steak dinner at your restaurant?
Well, it could be anything, really.
What springs to mind?
Well, lions spring to mind. They often spring to throat as well. You know. But we have lions, of course, featured in our beautifully decorated. This is all her again, my sweet. Beautifully appointed, recreated Serengeti dining safari.
Dining safari.
Dining safari, yes. And you might even notice buried there in the Serengeti, right next to your table, can't even see them, this jittery wait staff waiting to clear away your platters or your entrees to avoid carrion feeders. You know, like vultures and their huge droppings. They seem to constantly be hovering overhead the restaurant, you see, ready to descend.
Well, is the food any good at your food chain?
We don't know. We've never been able to catch any of
No,
them.
but all are 4.5-star restaurants.
Not 5 stars.
No.
Oh.
Actually, amazingly, the reviewer's riding arm was taken off by a silverback Highland gorilla in heat just before he finished the 5th star.
Tragedy.
Oh, I should think so.
Yeah. Stuck with 4.5 bloody stars from the only one who lived.
So, it sounds as though this obviously isn't a family-friendly restaurant.
Oh, yes, actually, many spouses come to our restaurant to celebrate their anniversaries in hopes of leaving unencumbered.
So, carrion finished the meal?
No, predators finished the mate.
Yes.
What?
Yeah, well, it's quite natural. It's all part of life's rich pageant. It's how the world works. I mean, Brian, say your mate liked the meal. Say it.
Your mate liked the meal.
See, that's what it sounds like. We've never gotten that
That's
at the restaurant.
lovely.
I love that. But for example, your mate wasn't that wild about their selection. Well, a carnivorous predator, you see, Brian, will sense their weakness and the remaining food and quickly weed the mated pair from their table.
Well, this sounds completely dangerous. I mean, the service would have to be extremely vigilant to get any customers at all.
Extremely vigilant. That's the term. Yes, extremely vigilant. That's what we should use in the daily job adverts for new staff.
Absolutely genius.
Vigilant.
All right.
You.
Take me through this. I arrive at your restaurant. What happens first?
First, our greeter tracker comes up to you and says, "How many in your party? Shh, come this way. Sit.
Yes,
Sit here. They're all around."
they do. And then we're the only restaurant that can confidently then say, how many in your party would you like to leave with?
I am astounded that you two are still in business.
Well, thank you.
I mean, with piles of corpses of diners everywhere, how can you expect new customers?
Well, we grappled with this question for some time.
We did.
Much as our first customer grappled with a Komodo dragon
For some
a
time.
fabulous butternut squash with gnocchi and sage butter.
Yes. Now, Brian, in the end, we actually decided that for any truly green restaurant ecosystem, we needed more carrion feeders.
Carry on.
So now, every morning, the hyenas, the birds, they all eat the carcasses of the customers or any defeated wildlife, leftover dinners from the night before, as you now dine on your beautiful eggs Florentine breakfast.
Oh, my word.
I tell you what, it takes a real adventurous diner to order the rice. Make sure it's not moving.
Yes. You know, a non-progressive inspector had precisely the same reaction that you're having, and they gave us an F rating, which I thought was going to be quite a setback until my lovely lady wife here told me, ein Ud, and I thought she'd gotten German on me, frankly. But then I saw she added it after the F, so it was F for fine food. So we hung it in the window and stayed open, thanks to this one.
That's a shame. But I can't see what possible incentive I would have as a diner to go to the food chain. It sounds like it's completely unhygienic. You should be shut down.
Brian, think about this. Come on now. Think about it. The sense of achievement, the appetite you'll work up. Just wrestling a muffin from a Virginia opossum. Or perhaps ice fishing with the ever-present danger of polar bears and cracked ice.
Well, with the danger, is the food at least affordable?
What? Oh, he's still here. Yes, well, some of it is. I mean, the Ethiopian fly buffet, there's a lot of buzz around that.
Yeah, you've brought them.
Yeah. But most of the food is a bit more expensive. You don't want cheap seafood, even in this economy. And Lady Bo loves her sushi.
Yes, and imagine how much more priceless my sushi is when it is pried from the jaws of a striped mud turtle.
That's right. I've pried her sushi. It's priceless. If you're motivated and very hungry, we've got a full seafood restaurant, you know, with scuba room. We've got diving certification on premises while you wait to be seated. It's brilliant. And then as you're seated in our underwater seating, of course, you can pick off schools of sea bass and tuna and carp, all between bursts of oxygen from our patented mastication rebreathers, our finest invention.
Oh, his and hers rebreathers, actually, that we designed for mutual mastication.
It gets pretty wet down there.
Yes.
What?
Down in the vast wetlands and scuba room, of course, Brian.
Yes, I see.
Yes, and so these vast areas of dense vegetation and food have to be cleared away by our waiters, sometimes our sommelier, and even poachers who clear it away.
You know, even during our simplest of meals, you've got maggots of flesh flies eating away at your pork pie and Branston pickle. And let me tell you, that creates nitrogen and carbon, which is notable.
And who noted that?
Well, the health department was the first to note that in print.
Yes, printed.
Difficult.
It's very difficult, Brian, for the independent family food chain to survive in this era of corporate regulated restaurants. But one review can make all the difference.
And has one review made the difference?
Well, the one that shut us down did.
Oh, my baby, my poor Reggie. I had to spend many, many hours comforting him in only the way that I can.
I don't even want to think about that.
Oh, I should hope not, Brian. You would look desperately homosexual if you were to do that to my husband.
Yeah, she does it better.
No, what? Look, I've never read a review on the food chain, but I suppose if I did, it would be a bad one.
All the other reviewers were mauled in our Appalachian mountain room.
Their own fault, by
Yes,
the way.
during critic night, though, which was unfortunate for us. And, of course, the food bloggers lost all sensation and all of their extremities in our Arctic Circle supper club. It's not the kind of exposure that we'd really been banking on in the dining world.
No, we were hoping to get at least one kind word written about our restaurant.
Yes, we were.
But we had to give up hope of that after all of the amputations.
Yeah, it's difficult to get a good review when you've got nothing but finger food for weeks ad nauseum. But not all of our ecosystems, of course, are that extreme.
So, fighting a starving warthog for a Salisbury steak and beans is not extreme?
Yes, well, all right, I will admit there was some miscalculation. There was that one, you remember that, the Highland buffet. Well, apparently only microbial life could exist in there because of the moon-like temperatures. Put some people off as much as the bagpipes.
No. Honestly, Brian, those diners could have availed themselves of our lovely hypothermal vent buffets.
They could have.
Yes, and we had booth seating with pressures of up to 3 Earth's atmospheres.
That's right.
I myself found it a very lovely place to dine. Oh, an enchanting place to survive.
Mm-hmm. Yes. You should see her when she's enchanted. Yes.
In survival mode.
Pretty amazing. Yes, well, I think we'll both have to admit, possibly in front of a federal tribunal, that this restaurant really wasn't for the casual diner or the real foodie.
No, we've actually lost a lot of customers.
We did.
Lost in that they didn't return to this restaurant, or that they perished while dining?
Yes. And as a man of science, I will say I was shocked by evolution run amok at our Galapagos Island bar. But we believe in our restaurant. We believe you can fight for your food, you can fight for your meal, you can fight to survive, and you can often leave hungrier than when you first arrived. And that can't be said of a lot of restaurants, let's face it.
It's true. We call it the food chain survival diet. You will lose weight, even if it's just a limb. Fatties love it.
They eat it up.
Well, I'll make sure that I have all my shots and no appetite before I see you again. Join us next time on Invention when Sir Reginald talks about his latest theory, one that I'll have to take him to task on.
Which one was that?
Well, that's your white paper, Sir Reginald, the one that asserts that female chest gazing actually has health benefits.
Oh, yes. Well, daily gazing at the female chest provides a myriad of health benefits on par with an exercise regime. Now, I've found, through gazing at the chest, I have increased blood flow, coronary artery disease is lowered, a release of endorphins, and an enhanced will to live. I found through my research that oogling often cuts in half the risk of stroke or heart attack just at 5 minutes a day. Or 5 hours, whichever. So, gazing at the female chest lengthens a man's life.
Here, darling.
I am over 100 years old, Brian.
Oh, Brian, would you like to try?
Oh. I feel young.
Baby, more?
I might need to do a new study.
Darling, really?
Yes.
We should try.
Something about raising the...
Hello, and welcome to Invention. I'm Brian Forbes, and with us is Sir Reginald Beauhainaut, inventor of what his own press statement and review calls an amazing new fashion statement.
Yes, Brian. Yes, I've designed and debuted at a Milano runway show my winter line of aromatically themed outerwear.
Oh, I see. Sage-inspired lavender, that sort of thing, for example?
The Flatulence Pants.
Oh, come on. What?
Yeah, well, if you haven't seen it, I'm sure you've heard it.
The Flatulence Pants.
The Flatulence Pants, sir. The Flatulence Pants. Yes, the first pants that really answer the question, Brian, why? Why? Why can't we redirect and amplify my flatulence?
You say that as if the question's been out there hovering for years.
Well, no, but flatulence has been.
Indeed. But if you aren't particularly flatulent, or want to be...
If you want to be, I can help you there. If you're not particularly gassy, like most of us, I can set you up, as it were. I've designed them so that the back pockets have sort of spring-loaded areas with canisters in them that shoot out like a whirling dervish. Imported or domestic, methane-derived intestinal gas substitutes. All your favorite flavors, too. Or, let's see, there's scents like Ho Latte Enchilada, you know, or the number 2, Razzleberry, or the number 3, Midnight in New Delhi. Yummy. Have to wait on that one. Available for sale on our website.
If I may state the obvious.
No.
No, I need to say this, Sir Reginald.
No, Brian. There is no need to thank me. I'm happy to invent it.
What I was going to say is why. Why would anyone want to add flatulence, let alone someone else's, to his or her own pants?
Integrity, sir. Integrity.
What?
Yes, well, think about it. With these pants, you can let loose with a waft of the scented gas of a young Mexican boy named Javier, and look someone who's appalled, just appalled. You can look him right in the eye and say, it wasn't me, and you'd be telling the truth.
Most thoughtful. And what other aromatically themed clothing have you invented?
Well, a smock that smells like Ernest Borgnine's burial shroud.
Lord, he's not even dead yet.
We're hoping. Any day. That's for the fall rollout of the aromatic line. And also, this is the most exciting of all, is a kids' wear line that reeks of post-coital bliss.
Post-coital bliss? I don't even want to think of that smell and children's wear together.
But I can think about it, and I am. Yes, because I'm wearing my new invention.
Oh, and what's that? A designer house arrest collar?
No, Brian, no. They're the anti-arousomatic pants. See, I can dwell on the musky smell of love and little play pants and candy-coloured clowns intermingling, and this is all that happens in these newly designed pants.
Oops, wrong pants.
No, Brian, not at all, see? No moisture visible. Dry to the touch. Here, try it.
Fair enough. I'm calling the police, and I'm afraid that's all we have time for on Invention. Thank you. Good night.
It really is dry. Look at it.
Please.
Yeah, nothing. Nothing there. Just for
well
science.
done. Thank you. Thank you.
Perhaps one of these lads would do. Let's see. Ernest Borgnine, Ernest Borgnine, Ernest Borgnine. Ernest Borgnine, Ernest Borgnine, on it, Ernest. Okay. It worked.
Good evening. Tonight on Invention, we welcome Sir Reginald Beauhay-No, who's created quite a massive controversy with his latest invention, Sir Reginald.
Yes, I have created and marketed the Jovian Day Runner.
I see, a day runner based on the cycles of Jupiter?
Yes, it's a calendar and reminder book based on the Jovian Day, which is 9.8 Earth hours.
I see.
And I sell the refills.
How industrious. That's all we have time for on Invention. Thank you, and good night.
Can I mention that's why I'm 11.86 years early for this interview?
I'd rather you didn't. Thank you. Welcome back to Invention. I'm Brian Forbes. And with us tonight is an all too familiar face on this show, Sir Reginald Beauhay-No.
Yes, well, I might not be too familiar a face tonight, Brian.
Oh, really? And why is that, Sir Reginald?
Well, you know the old axiom, dying is easy, comedy is hard.
Yes, I've heard that.
Familiar with that? Yes. Well, I've developed a hilarious collection of physically painful, face-altering teeth and glasses.
Really? Such as?
Oh, such as the Special Boy.
The Special Boy?
Yes, or even the Ernie Kovacs.
Ah,
You all
yes.
remember that?
I remember Ernie Kovacs.
Ernie Kovacs, yes, terrific.
Funny,
Or
he
this
was.
one, which is also known as the Ridin' the Short Bus collection of fun, funny, and physically painful, face-altering teeth and glasses.
Now, you said physically painful.
Yes, I have a court order that says I have to say that now.
I see, yes, I do seem to recall reading online that several lawsuits were brought against you regarding goofy teeth.
Yes, and I regret to say the whimsical glasses, which apparently cause blindness and retinal scratches during use. It's a real pisser for me. But still, these are a hilarious collection I developed over years of field work, and let's face it, funny trumps everything.
Yes, yes, I've heard that as well. In comedy, funny trumps everything.
Yes, even bleeding gums or periodontal disease or even corneal scratches, you know. But sure, your teeth, your gums are going to bleed.
They're going to bleed?
They're going to bleed.
Profusely?
Yes.
Oh.
In fact. But that bleeding is a small price to pay for the sort of really big laughs, belly laughs that you're going to get at children's parties.
I see. Now, you said these were physically painful.
Yes.
Are they very painful?
They're very painful. Yes, they can be.
Well,
yes.
Could you demonstrate?
Yes, I'd be happy to. The comedy du jour.
Yes,
this one I'm just developing now. It's sort of in the beta stage. Oh. The light is too bright.
So that's Sir Reginald Beauhainaut and his physically painful, face-altering teeth and glasses. Join us next time on Invention when Sir Reginald when Sir Reginald taste tests live his latest, the anti-masturbatory crackers. Cheers. Join us then. I'm Brian Forbes, and this is Sir Reginald. Welcome to Invention. I remain Brian Forbes, and with me is a guest who I can safely say is no surprise to me, or anyone for that matter, Sir Reginald Beauhainaut.
Ah, nice to meet you, Brian, finally.
Yet again. So, Sir Reginald, yes, I venture you've been working on something since we last met.
Yes, well, I've made the leap, as it were, in the area of privately funded rocket ship tours.
Ah, yes. Well, Sir Richard Branson has been developing a program where a private individual can purchase a seat on an orbital or near-orbital spaceflight without a military or scientific background.
Really?
Yes. Recently, the X Prize was given to a private company which successfully launched a reusable spacecraft for commercial purposes.
Yes, well, there's an intense interest in the privatization of rocket ship technology and people willing to pay for a private rocket ship tour to the stars. You see, my service is unique in that it provides a discreet rocket ship tour to the stars' homes.
Stars' homes?
Homes.
What type of rocket ship tour is that?
Oh, it's the whole 4D experience, you know, Brian, through the lives, literally, of some of Hollywood's most beloved stars, you know, just as their homes are destroyed forever by a pressure-fed kerosene oxidizing engine, which lowers the cost, of course, that's normally associated with throwing away a booster, you know, that sort of thing, but does increase the cost ever so slightly of, say, rebuilding Shakira's 10-bedroom home. But you're still getting a once-in-a-lifetime experience of seeing a star's home before the home is gone.
So you're essentially launching a rocket horizontally into a home.
Or homes, if you aim right.
Or homes of Hollywood's elite.
Yes, yes. Oh, bring a camera with a fast shutter speed. You can see Madonna's house at 0.3 seconds. You get the whole thing. It's all the thrills and excitement that you would normally associate with the homes of the Hollywood elite, and also possibly fulfilling a lifelong dream of doing it on a terrestrial rocket ship.
So this terrestrial rocket ship, as you're calling it, I presume is laden with passengers who've spent their money to either see the stars' homes or to ride on a rocket.
Well, to each his own. Some are there, of course, to ride on a bona fide rocket, and some of the dimmer ones are there to see the stars' homes. But given the fuel and insurance expenses associated with this, I don't understand. I do not understand the public's bizarre fascination with the lives of the stars. But as long as people want to stargaze, I'll be there with my modified Russian rocket ready to go.
Yeah, what do you mean by modified Russian rocket?
Well, the Soviets have been selling me their rockets for months for a song.
Now, are these expensive?
No, they're not expensive, Brian. No. In fact, the only really tricky part is disarming the warhead.
Warhead? You mean your rocket could explode at any moment?
Brian, I told you, don't mention my man-junk in public.
What? No! How much is the ride? How much is the ride?
On mine?
No, not on your...
Right.
On the rocket tour of the stars home.
Well, for 45,000 American dollars, I could promise you one hell of a ride. And for 5,000 more, I can get you on the rocket ship. But either way, I'm not sure that will really give you a full sense of how the stars lived.
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 Lived. So those stars that presumably managed to get out of the way...
Get out of the way of that rocket. Managed to get out of the way.
That rocket,
Yes.
Okay. Very funny. Yes, I'm sure you've had a lot of takers there.
Yes. Well, I'm a giver. Syphilis, mostly. That's what the letters say.
Well,
You can't get it that way. I'll show you how.
I don't want to know.
All right.
I can imagine that those stars that manage to get out of the way of the rocket and live
Yes.
are none too happy to have their homes destroyed by your tour.
No. In fact, I don't think it's just the stars that have a problem with having a large rocket ship flying through their home. I think most people would have a problem with having a large rocket ship fly through their home.
Do you think so?
I do. But given that Mr. Sean Penn, a very violent man, wouldn't return my phone calls. Mr. Fidescent wrote a harshly worded rhyming email to some of our passengers during our maiden voyage of his boudoir and recording studio, which is incomprehensible to me.
Incomprehensible how?
It's incomprehensible for two reasons. One, he's not that big a star. And second, I think 50 Cent wrote the email himself.
Incomprehensible.
It was incomprehensible.
Now, once your tour is underway, how does it stop?
That is a question that's been shouted by many a passenger so far. How does it start? That's normally how people hear it, especially the stars.
I can imagine, yes.
Well, we've tried several things sort of on the fly, as it were. Parachutes.
Yes.
Nothing.
No.
Yeah. A series of rubber bumpers. We've even tried ending the tour in Rosie O'Donnell's thighs. But ultimately, what concludes our tour is a combination of friction, gravity, and lawsuits.
I can well imagine. Well, I'm afraid that's all we have time for on this episode. I presume you'll be back next week to talk about... That can't be right.
Yes, that's an amazing photographic process. Yes, it's glamour photography of missing children.
Why on earth would you want to do glamour photography of missing children?
No, you see, the more proper question is, how could you do it? I mean, after all,
How could you do
the picture's already taken, right? I mean, there's the photograph. Let's face it, the moment is, in fact, gone, as is the child. But we've developed this way to create high-fashion, magazine-quality portraits for milk cartons, for flyers, for online posting. Anywhere you're desperate to get the picture, it's gonna be everywhere. At least have a decent picture, is all we're saying. We have an incredible thing here. If the photo, say they don't look as good now as they did in the photo, at least they know, with this photo, they've got a good picture out there somewhere. It's floating around, as indeed they may well be. You know, there's that bond, that inextricable, loving bond between a portrait and pieces of a child. It's soft focus, you know, very tasteful, makeup enhancement, the whole, you know, adjustment of the hair as the decades go on, and you lose that time. But at least you know what they look like, according to me.
I can't see why you would want to have a high-fashion version of a missing child's photo.
No one can. No one can. I mean, let's face it. This is probably the last photo you're going to have of them. For a small fee, let me make it a good one.
If you enjoy your short ride...
Like Mrs. Forbes.
That's my wife. Not funny.
No, she isn't.
Then you can book a ride on Sir Reginald's rocket.
Like Mrs. Forbes.
I'm Brian Forbes. Welcome to a very special invention. Tonight's show is not so much about an invention or a book, but a revolutionary new program. With us is Sir Reginald Beauhainaut, the curator, I believe you call it?
Me?
Yes, for God's sakes, yes.
Oh, yes, curator, yes.
The curator of the Scared Straight 2 Institute. Now, curator, that sounds more like a museum.
No, you see, I am the curator in that I give the cure. Don't know what happened to the ater. Ater comes later. Yes. No, I give the cure to the behavioral problems that these troubled young men are experiencing.
Well, I think we're all familiar with the first Scared Straight program, a very corporal therapy for teens and young adults. These young men would be placed in prisons and would get to know up close and personal the very graphic effects of a life of crime. Now, how is your Scared Straight program different?
Well, I think the first thing that will spring to your mind as you look at the two programs is that mine is called Scared Straight 2. You see, unlike Scared Straight, the original, mine is called Scared Straight 2. That will be immediately apparent.
Yes, I see
as
that.
a difference.
Yes, thank you.
The second thing is my program, Scared Straight 2, puts troubled young men on the straight and narrow in a unique way.
Now, what is it exactly that you do with these young men?
Well, Brian, it's really, it's quite elegant. We take these potentially homosexual young men and we scare them straight, Brian, with aroused male genitalia.
Aroused male genitalia?
Where?
In the program.
This program?
No, not my program, your Scared Straight program.
Ah, you're familiar with the program.
Yes.
How'd you do?
No, I like women.
There you have it. Another bender, Scared Straight 2. Well done.
What happens after the scaring part?
Well, when you see a giant turgid tube steak just coming right at you, as it were, that puts more than the fear of God in you. I know.
I'm sure you found that to be true. What then?
We take these young men, and much like your own parents might do, they might cure you from smoking cigarettes, Brian, by taking you out, making you smoke so many cigarettes that you just don't want any more, you know?
Well, certainly sounds like something my father might have done.
Sure, why not? Precisely. So what we do is we take these young men and we make them smoke so much pole that they just don't have a taste for it anymore.
Well, what if it turns out that he's not actually heterosexual, but indeed genuinely gay?
Well, he'll have the time of his life at my place, let me tell you.
I'm afraid that's all we have time for on Invention. Thank you. And...
Oh, wait. I haven't shown you the anti-buggery butt plug.
good night.
You seem uneasy, Brian. Friendly.
I'm Brian Forbes, and this is Invention. With us tonight is Sir Reginald Beauhainaut, who has invented something that he claims will change the lexicon of our language. Sir Reginald.
Oh,
Yes.
well, Brian, yes. I've invented the 27th letter, and I've added it to the English language.
Well, we seem to have done quite well with our language for quite some time. What would be the use of incorporating a new letter at this point?
Well, I think the licensing, for one. Every time you use the letter, I get paid.
Well, I see the obvious financial benefit to you. Would that be in media or in print?
Oh, yes, or even oral tradition. I would get paid using this letter. Yes, yes.
So I'll try to avoid using it in oral tradition.
Oh, please don't, because letters are such a great expression of all the sounds that we use as humans. But some of those sounds are not represented in language, which is why I created that letter.
And this is the letter as written.
That is the letter as written. It comes between X and Y, and it sounds like this.
I see. And how would one use this letter?
Well, already I've licensed the letter to the Royal Society of Gynecologists, so every time a labia is mentioned, you have to go.
Well, the word onomatopoeia springs to mind.
Yes. Well, let me show you how much more expressive the letter makes these photographs of women's hoo-has.
I pray that's all we have time for on Invention. Thank you, and good Lord.
Yes, look at the dangling giblet pouch on that one.
It's like slapping an artichoke soaked in butter.
Is it?
Not that I would know about the butter. So, Sir Reginald, if this is the sound of this letter, what's the name of the letter?
That's the letter twat.
I'm Brian Forbes, and this is Invention. Tonight I'd like to start the show with a question that a blogger wrote on the Invention forum. R. Goldberg86 asks, Brian, I've always been interested in technology. How did you get your start on invention? Well, R. Goldberg86, to answer your question, as a boy I was always fascinated by what made things work. Growing up in Grayshot, Hampshire, my Uncle Augie, who was an engineer, would bring over all of his old issues of Popular Mechanics, and I would spend hours poring over these. And then at night I would lie in bed and wonder, what could I invent that might someday change the world? Funny, even as a child I seemed to understand that we as humans are shaped by the technology of our time. It was while I was attending King Alfred's Polytechnic that a chance meeting with Sir David Attenborough changed my life. He looked me in the eye, placed his hand on my shoulder warmly and said, Boy, science is the thing in life that makes life worth living, and if you share my enthusiasm, then you must share this with the world. Well, these words, these powerful words, sent me headlong into this, my career in technological journalism. And now, with the power of the internet, we can literally reach billions of people and hopefully illuminate the history of invention and perhaps point the way to a beautiful symbiosis between man and machine. So, Sir Reginald, tell us about your giant electric hairless toupee.
Well, Brian, I think this sort of falls under the umbrella of the happy accident.
Does it? God, what happened?
Well, I fell into one of those, I think they call them bins. And when I came to, I had the beginnings of one of these in my head already. You know, so I went right home and made one.
The electric toupee was conceived in only a few hours. Amazing.
Well, I think the first thing you won't notice about the giant electric hairless toupee is my bald spot. Since this whole thing sort of happened on Thursday, I think it was, I can say with my hand on my heart, if not my head, that no one has commented on my hair.
Well, Sir Reginald, the toupee has been around for quite some time. Why would you make one now that is, electric?
Interesting. I really thought you were going to say hairless there. Usually the sort of hairless aspect of the toupee comes up almost immediately, particularly with investors. But yes, this has 20,000 volts of electricity rated at 1400 amps, coursing through the toupee aerials, as it were, powering the toupee, obviously, and creating a very real sense of danger and embarrassment that keeps your mind off the fact you're going completely bald.
I see, and being a hairless toupee, one would never have to worry about one's hair being messy, even in the wind.
My God, you're right. You'd never need a comb. You've vindicated me, sir.
Yes, I'm here to foster the beautiful relationship between man and machine.
Yes. Well, hair loss is incredibly debilitating to the male ego, a sign of advancing age, the loss of vigor of youth, the negative aesthetic of baldness. Finally, the giant electric hairless toupee makes all this a bunch of nonsense.
Is that so? In what way?
Well, I mean, look at it. You can do almost anything with complete ease. Move silently through crowds like a ninja. You can do social gatherings with confidence. The ladies, I'm sure that'll be a factor for you one day. And swimming and showering.
Swimming and showering?
Oh, yes, yes. Well, you have to do it rather quickly. It does unleash a rather lethal jolt quite a bit. But, you know, your hair loss will be the last thing on your mind, as indeed if you do that, this will probably be the last thing on your mind as well.
So what is the difference between this electric toupee and a hat?
If this were a hat, sir, I would have called it a hat. You don't call a toupee a furry yarmulke.
Well, because a traditional toupee is faux hair designed to camouflage a balding head.
As is this.
Touché.
Toupee.
Indeed. So what has been the public's reaction to your electric toupee?
Well, I think shock at first, you know, depending on your proximity to my body. But I think that any man or woman, if you have tits, would look over at me and say, now there's a man with a head for power. I want to go over and talk to him as soon as someone says it's safe.
Well, certainly this device is not for those who are afraid to stand out in a crowd.
No. And the added benefit, of course, is, well, the ozone created by all this giant electric head electricity closes up the ozone bald patch, ironically, at the North Pole.
Well, that's actually true.
Where Santa lives.
Santa.
Oh, yes.
Feel free to post any comments or email me with questions. I'm afraid that's all we have time for on Invention. I do enjoy answering your questions. Thank you, and good...
Oh, that was the last bee. That was it.
Good night.
Finally got him.
Ah!
I'm gonna need new batteries. I'll show you where you can put them, Brian. D size. The big one. You don't have to take them out. Taking them out's the really nasty part.
Good evening. Tonight on Invention, we welcome Sir Reginald Beauharnois, who's created quite a controversy with his latest invention. Sir Reginald.
Yes, I've invented and patented the tree.
Really? Why do we have him on the show? That's all we have time for on Invention. Thank you. And good night.
Can I mention the bit about the branches?
I have a headache.
I also invented aspirin, Brian. It kills.
I'll take 2. Hello and welcome to Invention. I'm Brian Forbes. Today we move into this age of virtual reality. With us is Sir Reginald Beauharnois, who has invented what he says is a foolproof method for creating wealth. And let's face it, who wouldn't want to be wealthy? Sir Reginald.
Well, actually, I'd say most people who ever lived would not want to be wealthy today.
You surprise me. Why is that?
Well, because they're dead. You see, most people that ever lived are dead now, so they wouldn't be terribly concerned about it. In fact, money is of very little concern to most dead people. The deceased are not concerned with money, not even the rich ones. You know, any conversation about high finance is a non-starter with the dead. Or the poor, really.
So it's not a wealth creation system for everyone?
No, it's a wealth creation system for virtually everyone except the dead. And the poor.
Well, I was very excited to talk about a wealth creation system for all of us.
I can see that excitement from here.
Tell us about it.
Well, I mean, the bulge is...
No, your system. About the system.
Oh, yes. I thought it strange. How odd you wanting me to call attention to your avarice and gorged member on this.
Do go on, please.
Well, all right. Well, I mean, I got a stiffy, you know, the first time I thought about all the things that I could
No,
buy
about
with
your
money.
system.
Oh,
about your
the
system for creating
sure.
wealth.
Yes.
Not my penis, not your
Yes.
penis, not any penis. Tell us about the system
Sure.
for creating wealth, please.
Nothing about this.
No.
All right.
Please.
Well, I've invented a system, I'm told, that allows you to become virtually wealthy virtually overnight.
Rich in 24 hours. Well, that is amazing.
No, it's not amazing at all because it doesn't take 24 hours. I don't know how much it'll take, but it certainly wouldn't take 24 hours. As I say, it'll make you virtually wealthy overnight. It will take some time. Not really sure how long my method will take in actual time, but I do believe, I'm virtually sure, that it will be virtually profitable eventually.
I am still not clear. What does your system do?
Well, yes, my system merely requires that you declare to the world, Brian, declare to the world your actual wealth or virtual wealth via my website.
And how do you do that?
Well, it's easy. You log into my website, which is www.boheynowealth.com. And then for the price of a cup of tea a day, you will receive 1 million Bohey dollars each month in your online account, making you virtually wealthy.
So there's no actual wealth?
Au contraire, mon ami, as the Greek would say.
Which Greek?
That Greek, he's right over there, drives me everywhere. I pay him in Bohey no dollars. Stupid little... Yes, he's a genius, though. Genius with a mustache.
He doesn't have a mustache.
Give him a mustache. See what he does with it. Genius.
I've often wondered if I should grow a mustache. Trouble is, it's always police, military, and homosexuals. Sorry.
Yes, well, I'll have you know, in the military, I was a Queen's Guard. I don't know his name, but he used to hug me warmly whenever I would guard him.
I merely meant to say that a moustache can create certain perceptions.
Yes, well, it was no free ride for my mustache, let me tell you, when I was in the military.
Fortunately, we're talking about a wealth creation system and not free moustache rides. So your system, which we are talking about, not dead people, not penises, not free moustache rides, but your system for creating wealth, suggests a type of psychological wealth. The very idea that you are wealthy gives you confidence. If you can say, I'm a billionaire, even if it's virtual, then you have a sense of having wealth. And with this sense of wealth, you can create real wealth in your life with that new confidence.
No. Interesting lingo, though, for the marketing boys. Listen. I'll pay you 1 million Bohey dollars for that idea.
But your Bohey dollars are useless.
All right. 2 billion. Think about it.
Where would I spend it?
Well, we have a new virtual shopping mall which you can spend it in.
So I'm going to use your pretend money to buy your make-believe products.
Well, think what you'll save in the shipping.
Is there even a system for wealth creation?
Oh, yes, there's a system, certainly. It's virtually foolproof.
Go on.
Yes. Well, here's my system. There's the first stage, as I call it, where we take the website and we distribute the virtual Bohey dollars to the various people. And of course, then there's the second stage, or the second stage as I call it, where we take the actual wealth from the customers, or marks, as I like to call them.
So You're conning people into giving you their actual money for this bohé no money.
I don't like to use the word conning.
You don't?
No, negative connotation. I prefer to just say ripped off. I am a billionaire. It's virtually that easy.
And are you a billionaire?
Virtually.
Let me rephrase that. In this reality, in pounds, are you a billionaire?
No.
Are you a millionaire?
No.
Are you even rich?
That's an interesting story. Like to be, but no.
Do you have any money at all?
I have virtually none, Brian.
I see.
Nothing. Virtually nothing. I'm on the dole, you know. Hoping to get some money, though, for the website, to make my virtual website a reality.
Good to know my taxes are supporting a madman. So, at the moment, this virtually useless invention does not exist.
It's in the virtual stages at the moment, but I am virtually certain that it will be actually real at a virtual time sometime in the actual future.
So, am I mistaken in saying that you haven't actually invented anything that creates wealth?
Yes, when you say that I haven't actually created something that creates wealth, it's virtual wealth, you know. Wealth is very much a subjective thing. It's subjective and confusing, like me.
Sir Reginald Bohé, bankrupt, actually and morally, with his new money-making website. I have to say goodnight, as I'm afraid that's all we have time for on our program.
Virtually?
Actually.